What up, what up, what up? It is Tuesday, December 31st, year of our Lord 2024. It's New Year's Eve. I hope your 2024 was great. I hope 2025 brings you more blessings. Look, today on Reported, we have, well, my name is Malcolm Johnson, but today on Reported, we got somebody who is much more important than I could ever be. I pale in comparison. She is the one, the only, you've seen her before, Randi Richardson. She's here with us today.
Hey, Malcolm. Thanks for such a warm introduction.
Look, it is good. It is good to see you again. It is good to be back. You hit me up. You said you wanted to make this happen again. I did not hesitate, not even for a second. Of course, let's do it. And I responded to an email quickly, which is unlike me. That's how
You
much you
did. Thank you for coming back, and thank you for welcoming me to my own show. It's a different feel to it. I'm like, oh wow, I feel all. Let me kick up my shoes here.
right. Look, I'm glad to be here just to sit in your chair just for like a hot second. Just a hot second. Um,
As
but
long as
look, it's funny that you do get the opportunity to sit because all you've done for the last 16 weeks is move and drive and fly and train and bike and swim and whatever you did, whatever your mode of transportation to get from point A to point B to rack up these incredible interviews. I mean, it's easier to name like where you haven't been compared to the places that you wait. It's easier to name the places you haven't been, right? Compared to the places that you have because you've been everywhere. So let's give people an opportunity just to see some of the places that you've been to, just in case they missed it.
Randi Richardson.
We get up and see what Randy's reporting on.
Authenticity.
Reported with Randi Richardson.
What up, what up, what up?
News flash. Yeah. Reported with Randi Richardson.
So let's get into it. The stats say.
News flash. Yeah. For the community. Our community is underfunded, overpoliced and unpretentious. Just some relics of Jim Crow in our business. Then it's now, and thank God we got some reporters around, documenting, interviewing, asking around. Yeah, that's reported with Randi on the ground. You know she at the malls, park sidewalks. Randi, she hits the mall. Straight to the people for news for the soul. Reported with Randi Richardson has it all. News, culture, and community so that we can ball. Out of the mainstream media for so long, and only included when it's a George Floyd call. No, 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 not here, not ever. Reporter with Randi Richardson, that's coverage forever. So come to her for unbiased news and unfiltered culture and unshaken community. And trust the reporter, she gives you stories spreading joy and justice, love and life. So pay attention, cause you're gonna wanna watch it twice. Gone. The people.
Get money.
This is the source.
You right here. I know, but I still want to get money. I'm turning 12. Get money.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to put this all over my social, and I just appreciate you. Randi, you are such a pro. You are incredible.
And I'm glad that this interview is about such to help.
Thank you so much for what you are doing and what you do. I took a look at your YouTube page, and it's awesome. I just can't say enough good about this. Your energy, your joy, your curiosity, it's wonderful.
Let's get into these oils. Give me a little something.
I got you real quick. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna give it a milk and magnesia first.
Okay, I'm trying milk and magnesia. Let me see.
Tell me what you think about that.
Okay, let me see what you're talking about. This is nice.
Yeah.
It's smooth.
Yeah. Sky blue right here. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like a sommelier. How do you clean your palate for a smell?
16 weeks, 16 opportunities to tell stories, to make impact, to change lives, to give perspective, to change people's minds. 16 weeks of ripping and running. How do you feel?
Yes. Well, first I want to thank Sandy Benjamin for working with me on the song. It turned out so well, and it has so much of my personality in it. I did write the verse, so that makes sense. But even just the beat drops and the claps and everything, I was there like, all right, let's go. And I think as far as the the energy that it takes to do this type of work is definitely draining and also rewarding. Like to hear at the end of the music video, people say things like, thank you for this interview, or I checked out your YouTube channel and thank you for the work that you're doing has been so heartwarming and just putting fuel in a dwindling tank of gas when I needed it most. And so I think that probably has been the adrenaline that I'm running on, knowing the impact I'm having on the community, that they're really buying into what I'm trying to do. And at the same time, being able to tell great stories based off of these interactions. So I'm really grateful. I'm on cloud nine. I started this as a leap of faith, as God, I trust you, make it happen. And it's amazing what God can do with so little obedience, with so little action, and it just has blossomed from there. So it's a great end to 2024.
Is there any way we go from reported with Randi Richardson to recording with Randi Richardson? Like, are we getting back in the booth? We doing this again? Like we got a song every season. How are we doing this? I feel like this is just the beginning, and we could do more if we wanted to.
Yes. So when I reached out to Sandy Benjamin, like, hey, I want to do a song, the goal was to have a theme song that could play to introduce each of my episodes. Kind of like when you go to play A Different World, it's always the same song. Living Single, always the same song. So I don't necessarily need one every season, but we can do maybe remixes or new iterations of the same thing, especially when I hit milestones like 100 episodes or, season 25. I don't know. This thing can get as big as I want it to. And I think the main thing is I really am proud of the work that I did. And I was like, how can I capture this very 360 experience during which I've grown as a person, as a journalist, as a community member, into a streamlined, and now people know how much it's impacted me, as well as all the great coverage that I've been able to do. And it was like, oh, let's write an original song. Let's get a beat to it, and let's really put some sound to this whole thing. And so I'm glad it worked out, because Sandy is in LA, and all of this was communicated over email. And I can be very specific. We like our work product a certain way. And when you're going back and forth over email, some things are lost in translation, or perhaps the tone isn't received how it's intended. But he was really just rolling with the punches. I mean, great business process. And I will work with him again. So Sandy, if you're watching, we need another song per Malcolm's request.
Yeah, another song or two, like an EP. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how many songs you got in you. A little mixed.
What are these songs about,
Yeah,
Malcolm?
like, why not? I just want to make sure you can hear me clearly, right?
I can hear you clearly now. The last part was a little in and out, but I heard an EP. What are these songs going to be about?
I don't know. This is recording with Randi. You tell me what they're going to be about.
Hey, man. From your lips to God's ears.
This is your project. So real quick, you mentioned growth, and your growth has been astronomical, and you've got the numbers to prove it. Hundreds of thousands of impressions, tens of thousands of views, hundreds of viewers. It's just, when you said, all right, I'm going to set out for this season, I'm going to set out on this 16-week trek, did you think you would get this kind of response?
I wasn't sure. I knew that I was putting out a quality product. I knew that it was going to be fact-based, well-researched, and unbiased. And I knew that I had the infrastructure of YouTube behind me. I remember when we were talking at the beginning of the season, I said, I've heard that YouTube has a way of getting your video to its intended audience. And it was just a matter of if they're actually going to click in to see what I have going on. And I think what I've learned throughout this journey is, even though there's so many YouTube channels out there, so many content abysses where it feels like I'm just dumping into a bottomless barrel, somebody is finding it on the fall down, and they're tapping in, they're sharing it, they're commenting. My last few videos got like 20 comments, and this was about the election aftermath as it comes to minority voting blocks and how Black people largely voted Harris, while Latinx, people of other racial minority groups, sent Trump back to the White House. So that, to me, taught me when you tap into a very specific angle within a larger story, race in the election, race in politics, and you get a very hairline type of, we're specifically talking about this, people are interested in that and they will comment, they will show up. And I think knowing that I was doing good work, knowing that I was putting myself out there, it was just a matter of time before these numbers started to increase. To have 430,000 impressions since September is not something I expected. To have grown by 83% in an increase in subscribers, I wasn't expecting that either. I didn't know if anybody was going to find this channel, but they did. Like, thank God. So I remember I was telling you about when there's a Bible passage, I think 2 Kings 4, 1-7, if I'm not mistaken, that you just set out empty bottles, do good work, and expect God to fill them. And I feel as though that's exactly what happened here. So I'm full of faith. I have a whole testimony that I could keep talking about. And I think the biggest thing for me has been doing work that I care about, doing work that I'm passionate about, talking to the community to see what they care about. And a lot of them, in their answers, they'll say something to me that sparks a second idea or a third idea. And then I later do a video about that. So the content is coming straight from the people, and it just happens to be, my delivery or my style that is disseminating that information. And I'm grateful. I'm proud. I'm happy. This is the time of my life.
Oh, am I blocked out?
You're good. You're back.
Or can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're frozen though, but I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. I'm getting a Bible verse for you. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Why is this doing this to me?
It's really playing.
Yeah, it's really bothering me.
I'm gonna pull it up too, make sure I had it right. Oh, yep.
Which one?
It's 2 Kings 4, 1-7.
Well, I'll take your 2 Kings 4, and I'll give you Luke chapter 9, verse 62.
Oh, let me get there. Hold on. Luke 9, 62.
Mm-hmm.
I'm turning there. Hold on. Oh no,
this one was a big one for me. This is one that has kept me motivated in the most trying times for me. I can read it to you if you
okay. I just got it pulled up, but still read it.
Oh yeah. Well, and Jesus said unto him, I cannot give you this entire backstory. I can't give you the entire backstory, but I can give you this verse. And Jesus said unto him, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God. So that verse to me is the most, don't you ever quit. Don't you ever stop. Don't you ever give up. It doesn't matter how hard it is. Putting your hand to the plow means that I see hard work ahead of me. I know this is going to be difficult. And yet I'm going to put my hand on this work and say, I'm going to do this. Like, you can't look back now. And I think it's beautiful that you say that you're getting more ideas for stories from the people that you are interviewing. That means that your hard work is immediately paying off. Like, it doesn't like it's an instant gratification in that you're getting content from content, meaning that it's a ball that is rolling and it's rolling and it's rolled for 16 weeks. It's rolled for 16 weeks. Like, 16 weeks is a long time. Like, how long does it take to create a habit? What is it? 28 days?
21 days. Yeah.
You have to create a habit. This is a 16-week journey. Tell me about some of just the general exhaustion. A moment where we get to week 9 and we're taking a deep breath after, we finish editing that video and we say, I don't know if I got week 10 in me.
I have a great story for this. So about halfway through, I had recorded an episode. It was already edited. It was already ready. All I had to do was add it to YouTube, upload it to YouTube, and it would have been fine. But for now, it's just stored on my computer. So the air date was the following Tuesday, because those are my air dates every Tuesday. and I set the date in the video. So if I don't publish it that day, I can't use it anymore because the date is spoken in the video. So I remember the next day I get up to upload it to YouTube and my computer will not turn on. And so I'm plugging it in and out. You know how they say, power it on, power it off.
Right.
I'm like, all I'm looking at is black screen. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's dead. So I plug it into an outlet to charge it. It doesn't charge. I have 2 charging ports on my laptop. Neither one of them are working. One of them had been broken for a while, but the other one usually works. So I run up to the local computer fix-it shop and they say, your port is broken. And this was on a Friday, and we'll need the weekend to work on it, and you can come back and pick it up, you know, Tuesday or Wednesday. And I'm like, I need this on Tuesday. And more importantly, I need the files off of it. And they're like, oh no, we can't get the files off of it for you. So I go up to Geek Squad at Best Buy. There's a reason they call it the Geek Squad. So I explain my dilemma to them, and they're like, well, your charging port is broken. And we won't be able to fix it in time, but we can transfer your files to an external hard drive and you can just plug it into another computer and be able to work on it. But it's going to cost you a stack. I'm like, what? It hurt my soul. Thank goodness for credit cards.
What's going to cost me what?
I was like, God, how bad do I want this? Because at this point, I need the consistency because I'm building a brand. And if I miss a week, people are going to be like, oh, she's not for real. See, I knew this startup show wasn't going to be around 10 weeks from now. So I'm like, God, this better work. If I pay this money, it better work.
Yeah.
But sure enough, it does. And I go to like a local place where they have a whole bunch of laptops. I plug in, I'm able to get my episode out. Malcolm, the next day, I kid you not, literally the next day after I've spent all this money, the episode is out. I'm still frustrated, but I'm like, God, you did make a way. You did provide. I plug my laptop into the wall charger and it works. It starts charging. I was so, you know, those cartoons like Elmer Fudd where they get so mad, steam comes out of their whistles. That was me. So I'm like, why would I have to go through all this? And it worked the whole time. And when I went to the computer place the first time, he even charged it with their computer charger to see if it was a matter of my cord or my port. So we ruled out it's not your cord, it's your port. So anyway.
Right. It's not $100, it's $1,000. Just to be sure.
Just to be sure. So at the end of the day, all I had to do was get a new charger because it was my cord after all, and we just didn't catch it the first time. And I'm like, you know, I could have spent that credit card money on something else or just not at all. And before it all worked out, I was like, or I could just miss an episode this week. But I was really proud of, I want at least 1 episode a week, if not 2 or 3. And on top of that, people are now starting to engage and respond, which means they're starting to see me as a source for information. And that's exactly what I want. When something happens, you come to Report It with Randi Richardson and you can get the facts, you can get the background information, and you can use that to form your own opinion. Yeah. So this was critical that it got out. And I don't know, I was praying about it after the fact, like, God, why would you send me on this wild goose chase? Only for it to, I didn't need a new port or a new charger. They were quoting me like $2,000 to fix the port. And to get a new computer. And I don't know, I feel like in the moment, it was very much like, do you have enough trust to believe it's going to work out?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, I do. How important is this show to you that I already instructed you to do in the first place? So it's now more than obedience. It's also trust on top of that, right? And when your problem is solved, can you still be grateful that you had to go through it? And I'm like, I don't know, God, this sounds like tear you down to build you up. And I personally do not believe in that teaching model that you can teach people something without having to break their back. But in this case, you know, lesson learned. And with it being about halfway, so maybe 8 or 9 weeks, I was like, well, this has to be the climax of difficulty, because after this, I can surely do anything. It almost fireproofed me or armored me to withstand what was to come next. So I am really grateful for it now that I can look back and see the value in it. Because then the next 8 weeks was like, oh, yep, somebody canceled, fill them in with somebody else. I was able to think of so many other alternative solutions when something fell through again. And the problem solving, all right, well, we just gonna move this to next week, or okay, let me go out and do some interviews real quick so I can do this. And if something isn't ready, blah, blah, blah. And so I think just being able to plan in my programming calendar and being able to plug holes when they came up, the computer was the first example of that. So anyway, I live to tell the story. I'm high-key still kind of upset about that.
So so you mentioned trust, obedience, faith.
Yeah.
These are concepts, like I thought we were talking about a news program here. You're giving life lessons, standards to live by. And I think that just says so much about who you are as a person. And I just want you to tell me like how Randi Richardson uniquely shines through in season 1. Like what is the uniqueness about you that you're most proud of that really shines through in season 1?
Man, yeah, I love this format of this interview because so much of my personality comes through where when I'm reporting, you don't necessarily know I believe in Jesus as my Lord and Savior, or I'm a Christian. So I'm glad that I can kind of step back and explain all of this backstory because anyone who's built something from the ground up knows it does not happen overnight. It may look easy, but there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears going into this. And like, I want everybody to know all of Randi Richardson is going into this show. And I think what has been so unique is hearing people's reactions after I stopped rolling. So usually somebody's walking down the street. I'm like, hey, I'm a reporter. I'm asking everyone about the election or about their New Year's goals. You have time for a couple questions? And they usually say yes, right? So I set up my tripod, or if I have my producer with me, he'll frame us up. We record. And then when we finish, almost all of them have said something to the effect of, thank you for asking me. How can I find you? What else do you want to do? And just to have the community buy in, and especially that first statement, thank you for asking me, there's just enough inflection on their voice where they're basically saying, no journalist or reporter has ever interviewed me. I haven't felt heard. My voice has not mattered, or nor has what I think. So for you, Randi, to come and ask me, thank you. And I think it has been so powerful to see people feel seen. And that I'm really grateful for. And they do tune in, like almost after every round of interviews, I get new subscribers. And I don't know for sure if it's the people I interviewed, but I'm willing to bet there are at least a couple of the people. And so the uniqueness is one, making people feel seen in that way. I'm interviewing Black people of all generations, of all genders, of all socioeconomic backgrounds, and to explore how Blackness is not a monolith. You can ask the same question to 10 different Black people and get 10 different answers, has just confirmed that the myth of the Black voting bloc, there's so much variation in between that we really should be exploring more. And I'm grateful that I get to be that person. And then the other unique part is the pop culture stuff.
So if I can stop you right there. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, because I just didn't want to miss out on this Black voting bloc, Black monolith.
Yeah.
And I know you spent a good amount of time and energy more than time, because I know it took a lot of energy out of you, focused on this election 2024. Before I get into specifics, just give me your general thoughts on what it was like covering this election.
Yes. So I knew starting the show in September, it would need to prioritize election coverage because it was just a couple of months before the general election on November 5th. I knew that I wanted to center Black people, and that the Black voting bloc has historically been the one to turn the tide in who won the election, right? And I interviewed Black Republicans, Black Democrats, Black independents, eligible Black voters who did not vote in the election or did not intend to cast the ballot. And I think overwhelmingly, there was a sense of the level of attention or care a politician has invested in their community or in them personally, directly correlating to how they voted or if they voted at all. I talked to 3 or 4 young Black men who said, I'm not voting because they do not care about us. My vote does not matter. And, it was almost jarring to hear that in 2024 because you hear the stories of the suffrage movement or the civil rights movement in the 60s. Your vote matters. They're trying to suppress it, which is why it's so valuable if they want it to keep it. And then you hear, well, it's 2024 now. Everybody votes. There's all these voting initiatives. Of course, your vote has power, but there has been a real gap in information and teaching just voting basics for these young people to tell me the same thing. So in some ways, it's like, has anything changed? And in other ways, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And then the other group of voters who I spoke to were Black Trump supporters who they really cared a lot about the economy and immigration, right? And their main thing was, this one in particular was a green card recipient. So at one point he was undocumented and he supported Trump's plan to do mass deportations. And when I asked him why, he said it's to secure our border. And so I think the biggest thing is Trump supporters may not care about the how it happens, but they want that border secured. They want that inflation down. They want the economy boosted. Whereas I find with the Black Democrats, there tends to be the how does matter, right? Because these are people, humanity. Yes, we all have bills to pay, but we don't have to be menaces out here. And so for me, kind of sifting through the different opinions, the different thoughts that kind of lead back to those main roads was really eye-opening. And I'm grateful that they felt comfortable enough to give me a real answer. Because it would have been so easy for them to be like, oh yeah, I voted. Oh, but I'm not going to tell you who. Or yes, I do have an opinion on this, but I'm not going to share it. It could have just clammed right up, which is what often happens. And the other thing I've learned through this experience is how little public trust there is in journalists. It actually was pretty sad to hear people thinking that reporters make something up or asking me to confirm whether I'm going to twist their words. And they would ask me, what outlet are you with? That was one of the main questions. And I would say, this is for my YouTube channel. And that actually made them more willing to speak than had I cited NBC, CBS, Fox News, ABC, because they have certain perceptions of which way those organizations may or may not lean. But being independent on my own YouTube channel seemed to strike a chord with them. And I was like, okay, well, great. whatever gets you to agree to the interview. But I did file that away for future use. Like, we have got to do more to increase public trust in journalism and reporting, because think about it, we're the middleman, right? You're a producer, you know this very well. In asking powerful people, celebrities, whoever, questions that readers or viewers then tune in to hear the answers. It's a little different now since almost everybody has a podcast or, their own social media account. But for the most part, it's still filtered through the journalists. And so I just tried to act with integrity, follow journalistic standards, bring my own slice of life and personality to the situation. And there were some people I couldn't even end the interview. They just kept on talking because there was a lot to say. They were comfortable with me. I would try to walk away and they're like, and another thing. So yeah, it's been quite the ride.
All right, I'm gonna ask a question. So you've been all over this, all over the election. It has now since ended, and we have a new old president, or old new president, or old president, whichever. And Donnie's coming back to the White House.
Not Donnie.
I want to. Donnie's coming back to the White House. I mean, if we were going to get a Donnie back, why couldn't it be Don Lemon back to CNN, not Donald Trump back to the White House, if we were just getting a Donnie? I want to talk about a narrative just while I got you here. And this is specific to me because it's how I identify. I want you to speak on the perception of Black men dropping the ball for our dear friend Kamala, and how that narrative correlates with what you heard in the field over the last few months.
Yes. So I think that absolutely emerged this election is will Black men vote for Kamala, or 20% of them end up voting for Trump. So that's 1 in 5, right? And there's two different things that happen. One was former President Barack Obama stood up and basically finger wagged all the Black men who didn't support her in an effort to win them back so that they did. And I don't think his condemnation moved the needle in the direction he intended it to, right? So I think there is a difference between encouraging, directing, steering, and to instead opt to, almost belittle and, again, finger wag. It's not going to be well received. So if anything, that pushed more Black men to vote for Trump. And what I found out when I interviewed the young Black men, maybe like 21 to 40, is that one, they want lower taxes. That was a big thing. Taxes came up. And also there's a real sense of not feeling as though Kamala had a plan for the economy to their satisfaction. And a sense that their vote was already won because they were both Black, the candidate and them as the voter. And they wanted to see, what more can you offer me? And I think that's true for every voting Black. Like, what can you do for me? It's a very gimme situation, and like a really tight line for politicians to walk, because oftentimes those are conflicting demands. And I think,
exactly,
yeah,
helping Black men does not help white men.
Right. And I think what it really boiled down to, specifically the Black man who I spoke to who said, I'm not going to vote, is they don't see voting as helping them. They see it as the system is going to be what the system is. We're going to end up with a president anyway. And my input isn't valued, nor does it matter. So I think, unfortunately, I may have talked to about the same number of Black men who voted or who did not vote. And that was the distinguishing marker, the sense of helplessness, the sense of this won't matter anyway. Now, I will say, for the older Black men who I spoke to, they definitely voted. They, are 60s or 70s. They remembered a time when they couldn't even vote, or their family members couldn't even vote. And so it is, the generational divide really stuck out to me. And I don't know, 20% is still not 80%. So 4 out of 5 Black men did vote for Kamala. And I think the narrative of, oh, but 1 in 5 didn't, just undid all the progress that we've made up until this point. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who the candidate is in 2028 and who votes for that person, because it's just unclear how Black men may vote in the future, or really all the groups.
Yeah. I can't wait to see where Reported with Randi Richardson goes in 2028. Hopefully we're getting candidates on.
Hopefully, yeah.
But I want to talk about 2025 really quickly. And staying in a political vein just for another second. What do you think some of the next political headlines you'll be tackling on your show in 2025? If you could, just, I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so definitely the inauguration, definitely whatever send-off bash they have for President Biden, definitely whatever Kamala Harris does next, probably another book if I had to predict. What else?
Get a coins, got to run a coins up.
And also tell the story, right? I remember after Hillary Clinton lost, she came out with a book, What Happened? So I imagine Harris will be coming out with some variation of that. And I'm not interested in following every single House vote or every single Senate vote. I am interested in, what happens to some of Biden's plans now. He really committed to student loan relief. He really committed to strengthening the middle class. And so how does that look different under a Trump administration? So following those through lines. And then at the end of the day, listening to whatever the people tell me. Like, again, when I go out to chat with people, they send very clear, unequivocally This is what I care about. I want to know more about this. I'm not hearing anything about X. And so I just be following where they lead me, which honestly is the easiest way instead of me having to do more of the legwork. Because then I can craft a video around what the people are telling me. And then from a business standpoint, that also leads to more views because they already indicated they wanted to watch. You did it. They now tune in for that. So I'm looking forward to the political coverage for sure. One of the things I feel this season was heavy on was the election coverage because it only happens once every 4 years. And I wanted to dig deep on that. And in 2025, I'm able to explore more podcast episodes, which I didn't do as many as I wanted to this year, more pop culture and entertainment type stuff. Maybe I can even get to a red carpet. Who knows? I mean, the possibilities are endless, having on more guests who can speak to those types of things. So it's only going up from here.
I know it is. I know it is. Speaking of going up from here, let's go up as in changing the topic from not something not as heavy. I live in New York City. When the when the New York Liberty won the WNBA final, the city went up in a way that I did not think. The city really, championed them the way I didn't think was that I didn't expect. Not didn't think possible, but didn't expect. I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of positive feedback that the Liberty got from everywhere and everybody. I am upset that Dejanay Carrington and the Connecticut Sun did not win, a ring, but in the future. I am a bit. So here's the thing with me in sports. I love sports, but not so much watching it on TV, or watching it in person. I just like follow stat lines and all that kind of stuff. Like that's my thing. Like I'm a big stat guy. So I'm tracking numbers, which is why it was so much fun watching Angel Reese's run because she was filling up stat sheets week after week after week after week, the same way you were filling up your stat sheet for views and impressions week after week after week. You are like the Angel Reese of news.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Digital entertainment.
Shout out to Angel Reese.
Cool. Rookie of the year. It's season 1, right? like we like. So when they win the championship, and they're so good because Stewie is so good. And there's the parade, and there's recording with Randi Richardson. What was it like? How much did it mean to you to see him win?
So professionally, I was very happy because I knew that the team was playing in Brooklyn and any type of championship celebration would be in Brooklyn, which is where I live. Personally, I must admit, I was sad because I'm from Michigan. I grew up watching the Minnesota Lynx, Maya Moore, Valen, Simone Augustus. So the kid in me wanted another Lynx win. All respect to the New York Liberty. And I remember I had a conflict during the parade. So I was glad that that night they also had a championship event at the Barclays Center. I did my homework. I didn't realize it was a ticketed event, even though it was free and open to the public. So I was like, well, let me just still go down there because I know there's going to be a lot of Liberty fans in the area and I want to be able to cover the championship parade or the championship run, which by the way was very rocky because if you remember, Sabrina Ionescu struggled a lot, Stewie struggled a lot, and it was really JJ that was the stability through that. And Sabali, Nayara Sabali. So I wasn't for sure if a lot of fans would show up because when the stars struggle, typically the fans are there for the stars. But in this case, it was such a team win. If you're just a fan of the team and team basketball, you're going to be there as well. So anyway, I get there. Sure enough, there's a whole bunch of people. Hey, how you doing? Woo woo. I bring my ring light, my tripod. I set up shop. I interview people. They're very willing to talk, of course. And I think I talked to one guy who happens to own a hair salon and does the hair of a couple of the Liberty players. And I said, there were moments where it could have gone either way. How did you know the Liberty were going to win? And he said, oh, I had inside information. And so he told me, and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So just being able to be in a proximity where I can go there, get an interview, it ends up being good information, and then go back home. I remember from getting on the ground to returning back home and clicking publish was like a 3-hour turnaround. And so working on deadline, I was really proud of that. That may have been the first example of really, this needs to get out right now. And of course, it was just an electric environment. I agree with what you said. There was just a buzz in the city. And one of the reasons I think it landed so powerfully is because the other New York basketball teams have not produced. I mean, the Nets had that run in 2021, but it didn't end in a ring.
The New York sports teams have not produced.
Yeah, we all know the Knicks history. Exactly. So the state was thirsty, hungry for a win. And I even asked the people, what significance does it have for you that after all this time, all the back and forth, it was a women's team to bring home a dub? And they said that makes it even better. Like, I hope they get all the shine that they deserve, all the endorsements, blah, blah, blah. And so I think that's the direction of the WNBA. We were talking about this in the beginning with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and all the rookies. And so I see them just up from here, the expansion team in Toronto, and in Golden State. I'm hoping, if God is sitting high and looking low, that we can get the Detroit Shock back. It's been so long, but alas, I'll settle for any, progress in the game.
Yeah. So a couple of things I just pulled from that. Recording with Randi is just as clutch as the New York Liberty. That's great. I think it's good for the city. The city needed it. I mean, it's awesome that you were out there. Quick turnaround. Respect to anybody, they can do a quick turnaround. So the fact that you were out there live and in a 3-hour, you flipped it. I mean, I hope that moving forward, the city gives you more to cheer about. The city gives you more to be happy about. There are more positive stories that you'll get the opportunity to tell. So tell outside of the Liberty and their run, what are some of like the highlights, the most positive parts of season 1?
Oh man.
And it's not necessarily something that's like in that you put in an episode, but maybe just something that you felt or something that happened to you along the way.
The most positive parts, I interviewed Philip Smithy, who's an actor starring in one of my favorite shows, Johnson. And I wasn't sure if he was going to reply. It turns out he emailed me back in like 10 minutes. We set up the interview, which is a reporter's favorite type of source, somebody who is responsive, quick scheduler. Let's get this out of the way. And during the interview, he shared such a gem about bussing tables and working in a restaurant with somebody who later went on to star in Black Panther. And the way he tells the story, I was sitting on the edge of my seat, like, who is it? Was it Chadwick? Who was it? So that was just such a gem that I would not have learned without talking to him. And he was really down and supportive for the show, congratulated me on how far it's come. And it was just nice to tell some good news. I think another positive point has been asking people what is the highlight of their 2024. This just in the last couple of weeks, and this is across generations, and they all said like self-love and cutting off toxic people. So I guess there are some things that take a lifetime to learn, because you have somebody in their 30s or 40s saying that, and then a teenager saying that. Especially the cutting off toxic people part, that was a real through line as well. And then the other positive news definitely would be kind of finding my footing. I think I started this show kind of like, all right, God, let's see if this works. And now it's more so, I know it works, so let's expand it. Or I know this is good, relevant, engaging content. Now I can expect the views. Now I can expect the comments. And so I think expectancy is definitely increasing over all of this time. And then also just telling good news, like joy and justice. We talked about this in our first conversation, and trying to find more of the joy, which is kind of hard when you're doing election coverage. But people did have good things to say about both candidates, and I was able to loop that in as well. And also not burning out. I am so proud that I actually had new content all 16 weeks, because it was so easy to be like, let me just skip this week. I'm tired. This interview canceled. But sometimes you just gotta find some grit and push through, you put your head down, you walk into the wind, and you just take it one step at a time. And I feel like that's exactly what I did here. And to see the result, I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't give up on myself, on the dream. And it's funny, I actually got a job out of this show. So it's not just, me doing this on my own. Now it's like a major publication behind it. So I start soon, more than, but to be able to do this type of work, centering my community, passionate stories that I care about, submitting those as work samples in a job application, a hiring manager sees that and is like, we want you. These are the stories we want to tell as well. Is mainstream, is not a Black show.
Yeah.
That's great. That's exactly why I got into this show. So I can't get much more positive than that, I think.
No. Just want to say, recording with Randy, just as much grit as a New York Liberty. I think that's amazing. I think this is how you win a championship. This is it.
You in this recording with Randy. Is it a podcast? Is it an EP?
I just okay. I'm going with it. I like it. So one I think I brought up concepts before with forgetting what they were. They escape me now. You spoke of obedience and you spoke of faith. Gratitude is another one. I think it's huge. And it's another concept that really propels you. Propels not just the individual, but like you. I believe it propels you, which is how you got to this place, and you are prepared to take steps forward. As we close out on the year, we have closed out on a season. As we look forward, before we look forward, let's look back on how far we've come just for a second. What are you really grateful for?
Man, I'm really grateful for how much I have learned about myself through a community experience. And I think it's so easy when you go into a community, asking questions, get what you need, and then you leave. It can be very extractive. And that was something I intentionally did not want to be. So being able to continue the conversation after the camera turns off, or follow each other on social media to stay in touch, were all goals of mine, and they worked out. And I think what I'm most grateful for, if you remember, we started the show, I had just quit my job, and like this was a huge leap of faith. And to see that week by week, I was building something, right? Another block, another table, another roof. And to now see the house structure is gold. I'm also grateful for, again, I can't emphasize enough the community buy-in. A lot of the videos wouldn't even be here without them giving me honest answers, without them being willing to speak to me, especially the people who really don't like talking to journalists. And I tell you what, this happened probably more than half the interviews. The person originally said no. And I was just, then when they said no, I said, okay, thank you for your time. And then they would start talking. Well, since you asked, I just blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, see, this would be great stuff to get. And then it would say, okay, well, come on then. So just, right. So just being able to, respect the boundary they set while also saying, no, your opinion is valid, giving them that little boost that they needed. Because I think they originally said no because they thought, oh, no, you won't care about what I have to say because of this trauma that they have with the press or for whatever reason. And breaking through that, I'm really grateful for. I feel I learned so many skills just through that experience alone. I'm also really grateful for my sister locks starting to look like something. I feel like they're actually, I'm just saying, if we can be honest today, at first they were given spider webs because they hadn't locked, they hadn't thickened up. And so to now be able to sit it was a real good conversation starter. Sometimes I was out, they'd be like, "Oh, I like your hair. What you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, great. By the way, can I interview you? You got to use everything. Every tool in the toolkit was being used. Okay, Malcolm, every single one." So I'm grateful for that.
What? Okay.
Plus, I just like how the locks look.
It is. If it works, it works.
Yeah, I also
It's
just
a
got to
means to an
retire.
end. How do you pay to point B?
Yeah, yeah, and also, what else am I grateful for? I know there's more. There were
I'm
some
sure the list is
people.
long.
Thank you. Oh, you said the list is long. I thought you said the hair is long. Okay.
That's hilarious.
Listen, I just got to retire, so I don't know how to act. But I think, there were times where somebody would see me setting up or interviewing somebody else. And if I was setting up, they'd be like, "Hey, do you need any help?" I'm like, "Great, come on over. And after you help me, let's talk." Or when I finish with someone, they would shout, "Hey, what you doing? Hey, are you interviewing people?" And they would step right up and be next. So there's real interest in what I'm doing. I wasn't trying to, you know, be the voice for people. And this is what you see on cable TV a lot, right? They'll have a reporter do most of the talking. They'll cut to somebody for maybe 30 seconds and you actually hear from them then, and then they go back to the reporter. Whereas me, in a lot of my videos, you hear from me the least, and it's the people who tell you what they're thinking. And this was critical during the election specifically because there's so many analysts or experts who will say, and so voters are saying or voters are thinking, and then there's you don't even hear from the voters. That I didn't want that type of show. Here, you heard from the voters, you can see the sample size, you can see where they're coming from, and you can take that into account however you want to weigh it. Now, I may get to the point in my career where I am doing most of the talking, where you do hear from me most of the time. And, God willing, it will be on some big fancy news show at one point. But for now, I'm really grateful that the space that I have created has 100% remained how I want it. It's authentic to me. It is my full editorial and creative control and judgment. And with that definitely comes some burnout. I'm like, oh, everything is on me. I'm tired. I need a team. I'm going to take a nap. But after I recharge, I really do be taking naps. It always comes back to, dang, but this is so rewarding. I feel so fulfilled. Like those are the two main words I would use to describe it: rewarding and fulfilled. And yeah, my heart is full. My heart is full of gratefulness, of joy, and of fulfillment. And you can't beat that. And faith. And for those three or four things, I'll ride that for as long as they last. And I know I'll get far.
That's absolutely wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that? Do you want more?
More fulfillment, more joy, more.
No. How many more questions? Of course, you want more fulfillment and more joy.
Oh no. Just thank you, Malcolm. And I hope everybody has a good new year. Goal setting, recharging, rest, like whatever that looks like. I hope we all get some time. We were talking earlier about how hosting for the holidays is so draining. So I hope you get a good little reset as well.
Oh my God. I would like 4 or 5 good days off to just not have to do anything. That would be great. But I do want to say, while I got you here, while we are recording, I know I mentioned this earlier. It's an honor. It's a pleasure, but it's an honor to be involved with you in this capacity, to be a part of this, just but a small footnote on this journey that will go as far as you want it to, that will be as big as you want it to, that will be as impactful as you want it to be, that will touch as many people and lives as that you wish. And I think you're doing good work. You see the result of it day by day, episode by episode, week by week for 16 weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
you see the result of it, and I want you to stay encouraged. I want you to keep going. I have no idea what the top is. I'm sure you don't either have any idea what the peak is, and I hope you never have an idea. I hope just up and progression is just the only place that you go moving forward, and you never see a cap, you never see a ceiling, you never max out. It's just forward. It's just onward and upward. And this is a wonderful platform, and I know it'll continue to grow. So thank you for allowing me to sit in this chair.
Oh, thank you. You're my first thought. You're a great interviewer. So thank you for the praise reports, the what I think is a prophetic word that you just said, and I definitely received that. And yeah, I will see you and everyone else in the new year.
I can't wait.